So this is the final product here that we're going to get. We're going to get this short sequence. I went ahead and rendered it through Photoshop, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But you can see that 365 images give us 15 seconds. And again, I talked about that air glow. You can see those waves kind of moving through the upper atmosphere, ionic discharge. So nice, blues and greens and magentas. I've had a couple of time lapses where it's really prominent, and I'll try and pull those out later on. Actually, if you go back to I think 2022, Lake Huron, I was trying to capture northern lights, and instead it was real foggy, but just an incredible air glow. So as I said, we're gonna have our Photoshop open. Everything. This was the big process here, going ahead and getting all these exported out. So I'd selected all 365 of the images, went ahead and went to export. This is the real trick here. Make sure that you put, find your destination. I'll probably just throw this up on top of the desktop here for practical purposes. I've already got this saved, but go ahead and choose a destination. I've got a pretty long file structure here, which just works for my brain, but I like to make sure I have things in places. Make sure you have the put in subfolder selected. You don't want to have 365 or 480 or 720 images just all dumped somewhere. It's obviously easy to correct, but much more, much less of a pain if you get them all in one spot. And then as far as file naming, normally when you go to export, this is turned off. So go ahead and select it, and you're going to enter a custom name. And it'll then sequence everything starting with 1. So when this batch is all done, I'll have a 1 through 365 with this prefix for the for each of the files. So if I do that, and so let me just go ahead and throw this on I'll put this actually in the previous folder, so it's got a spot to live. But go ahead and export. It's going to take Lightroom a little bit of time to get that sorted out, but once it does, it'll start exporting it, and then we'll go ahead and bring those all together in Photoshop. Real simple process. So, there it goes. It went ahead and got itself started. So, yeah. So, yeah, as promised, we'll go ahead and we'll compile everything here in Photoshop and get a nice little video, nice little MP3 file put together. So go ahead and get your Photoshop opened up, and the new Photoshop 2026. I do the monthly subscription for all of the Lightroom components, or the Adobe, the whole Adobe suite. Not sure I'm going to continue it. It's expensive, and but I've learned it really well over the last 8 years, and overall happy with the results. Just not crazy about the big subscription fee. So, but anyway, go ahead and once you're into Photoshop, go ahead and click Open. The dialog box will take you through a couple of things. Again, I've gone ahead and put those exported images into a specific. When I'm really diligent, this is sort of my file structure. I have, my whole image catalog. I'll have one big folder for what I shoot that year on a disk, and then everything that I need. If I'm doing drone shots, which I did quite a few for the fall, but not a lot earlier in the year. But I have a whole time-lapse folder. And then that way I can export files from Lightroom and know where they are. I tried to divide things between the first half of the year and the second half of the year just for organizational sake. This week, these were obviously shot in the second half of the year, so I'll put those images here in the July through December. Again, I've got a bunch more that I need to get rendered. I've actually done that, but I put those in 2026 because that catalog is much smaller and things are a lot smoother in my Lightroom catalog. So, but go ahead and open up this catalog, and then you'll get all 365 images. All you're going to do is just select the first image. You don't need to worry about selecting all of them. Photoshop will do it for you because you're going to go ahead down here and click this image sequence that tells Photoshop, hey, you're going to grab all of these and bring them in as a file, as a movie. So go ahead and click open. That gives you one more dialog here on choosing your frame rate. Again, I just go with 24 frames per second. I think if you had a whole lot of images, maybe you could import it, create a different look. But yeah, you've got a lot of options here. So, but I go with 24. Click OK, and then we get this dialog box to get rendered up. It's not really seamless here in terms, and again, I don't know if this is computer performance or other people have the same issues, but normally you can grab the cursor and scrub through the timeline, but again, I don't know if this is my computer. I don't know if this is my version of Adobe. Don't know if what's missing here. I don't know, it's not that big of an issue for me at this point, but it is rendering in the background. So as it does that, you can scrub through a little bit. Again, you can get a bit more of that effect of the air glow as things render out, but it's not that big a deal for me. You can go ahead and hit play, and it'll chunk along kind of slowly. As I said, it takes a minute. I'm not sure if that's not enough RAM on my computer. I don't know if that's I need to clean up some files somewhere. I need to run a piece of software to get the computer cleaned up, but it's fine. Our big issue is let's get this exported so it is a file that we can open up. So go ahead and go to export under file, all the way down to render video. Go ahead and put our name in. This was Almont Triangle. And again, I've got my naming conventions here. I've got a file structure, a folder structure that puts everything in one spot for me. You have a couple of options here as far as the format itself. I try to grab everything as an H.264. You're limited here in Photoshop to 1080p at 24 frames per second, but people who are a lot smarter than I am and who do a lot more work in video production, they all use 1080p on YouTube. That's where my stuff's going. It's going to YouTube. It's not going anywhere else, so I'm fine with that. So go ahead and fix my name here. Why am I getting that? So yeah, go ahead and hit render, and it will take a moment to get things rendered up and get it exported. While that's exporting, I did bring up that video I talked about with the really distinctive air glow. This was from 2022. As I said, I'd gone out to look for northern lights way up in northern Michigan on Lake Huron, and instead I just got this absolutely breathtaking air glow. So that's what that looked like. As you play it, you can just see it. Those are the big freighters that are moving freight up and down the Great Lakes. The moon rose and kind of wiped things out. The next night I did go out again. You can still see that air glow, but that fog, it just really caused vignetting and really took out the light. I guess it was actually Saturn rising there. Absolutely breathtaking in there. It's a little bit more vibrant. And then I traveled. Oh no, I did shoot the Milky Way. I typically set up two or three cameras when I'm out doing this, so was able to get a really nice Milky Way sequence there. Beach fire, people hanging out and having a big bonfire on the beach. Beautiful shooting star there. And then, did I get two there? Nope, I was down on Saginaw Bay, the thumb of Michigan. And we had this, the Northern Lights finally showed up on the third night, but I was way far away. I was about 75 miles further south, and of course, thunderstorms came in, but I could see that with the naked eye. It was just absolutely breathtaking, but of course, storms coming across, messing things up, but same, had air glow, had all of the beautiful northern lights, had a storm. It was pretty phenomenal, and that's just the beach. That's just the water. You know, it was real active, so didn't get the smooth reflections, but got some reflections. So kind of fun overall. But one of my favorite sequences to bring together. Super colorful, real challenging to get it to get everything edited right. But as I said, I used to think this was a problem with the sensor. I used to think this was a problem with my editing, and then come to find out it's a beautiful thing. So how are we doing over here on our export? It's taking a little bit of time. Again, not a big deal. I do have a copy of it already saved for us. It's getting a couple of us here. So as I said, if we go ahead and play it, there's our 15 seconds. And again, that air glow is not as strong as you can see. It can be much stronger. I've also got some images in a time lapse from near the Great Sand Dunes. I think also from 2022, maybe 23. That shows some similar effects. So, but yeah, that's the process. So the next thing would be to compile everything in Premiere Pro and put some music on it and put some proper transitions and post that to YouTube. So